I'd like to pick up where I left off the previous tutorial. I'm ready to bring in some music to this project so that I can start assembling my video so that it cuts to the beat of the music and has a little bit more purpose to it. So I'll use three different sources here. I'll use iTunes, I'll use an audio CD, and I will use GarageBand. And I'll just show you the basics because there's really not a whole lot to it as far as getting music into Premiere. It's kind of like any other media source. You just save it on your hard drive and you import it into Premiere, and then you can start editing and bringing it in as your background music. So let's start with iTunes. It's a free program for Mac or PC. You know, a lot of different music programs out there. This one's good, and it does allow you to convert music to whatever file format you want. Now I wanted to show you a couple things here, and I'm just going to use Over the Rainbow, Chet Baker. I've got two versions. This is an old version that I've had since 04, and I'll show you what happens if I right click on this, which is how you convert. I'll go right click and I'll go down to create AIFF version. It gives me an error message that says could not be converted because it's protected file. So I guess it's been about 10 years, I would guess, maybe a little bit less. But iTunes used to protect their music so you could not convert it to a different file format within iTunes. You could burn it to a CD and then you'd have an AIFF format, but you can't convert it directly in there. So if you get this message, your only option is to burn it to a CD. I mean, there are probably some programs out there that will unlock it, but easiest thing is burn it to a CD and then you can bring it back in. But the newer ones, anything you buy recently, you can right click on it and you can convert. Now let's say you right click on it from within iTunes on your music and you don't see this option, create AIFF version. Go up to iTunes, Preferences, go to General and Import Settings, and then change Import using AIFF encoder. Use either AIFF or MP3. I would start with AIFF. If that doesn't work for whatever reason, use MP3. MP3 is compressed, smaller file size, quality still good, not as good as the AIFF, but it's another option for you. So one of those two would be fine. So I'll go ahead and right click on this and I will create AIFF version. Okay, and then as soon as I have converted that, you have to actually find it. So just go back to View and Music, and that'll take you back to everything. Actually click My Music right here and then go View Music if you're not there. And you can see that there's a kind box right here, and AIFF is the one I just converted. So what I'm going to do now is I'll move this out of the way. Let me hide Premiere. So I just do a hide for that, or you could minimize it. And I'll just take this, drag it right to the desktop. Okay, that makes a copy of it on the desktop. Now, what I'm going to do, I'll hide iTunes, and now I'm going to go ahead and open up my Adobe Premiere folder on my secondary hard drive. And actually, I'm in Premiere and Montage. And then I'm just going to drag and drop this right in here. Now, you could put it in a music folder if you want to organize a little bit better, if your project's going to get too big. I'm just going to drop it right in there. Okay, and now I should be good to go. Now, let me go back to Premiere. And I'm going to go to my project, hit the tilde key, and maybe I want to do a bin for my music to keep that separate. So on the bottom right hand corner, let me do New Bin, and I'll call it Music, and let me double click on it. Alright, and then I'll just do a right click, Import, and then there it is, shows up in my Montage folder. Click Import, and there it is. Now let me go back and we'll check it. And I'll double click on it, and there it is. Now if you want to bring it into your project, all you have to do is click on this little icon that says drag audio only. If you can see where my mouse is circling, just drag and drop it wherever you want. And then don't forget to zoom in and see the actual waveform. Use the track height right here, and then you can also use the width and zoom in or out that way as well. And then I would also use the tilde key, and then you can really get a good look at that. So if I bring this slider up or down, I can really see that visual representation of the audio, which will tell me where to place my clips if you're going to have your clips change based on the beat of the music, so it looks like it has some purpose to it, and it's thought out and it moves with the music. That's how you do it. I'm not going to show you too much more of that because you should have the skills to get that done. If you play it and you see where the beat of the music is, you can start putting your clips in. One thing I did want to mention really quickly here, you may already be using this, but markers can come in handy. So maybe you want to mark a place on the beat or on the music and come back to it later. You know it's a place where you're going to put a clip in. Just put your playhead where you want that to be. Let's just say it's going to be right here just for practice. Hit M on your keyboard as in marker. Notice you have a little marker now that's going to always show up for you right there so that you know that you can put a clip in later. And a clip should snap to that if you drag it. So markers, don't forget. So that's how you bring in audio from iTunes. Now let's look at a CD. Okay, I've got a CD here. It's just an old disco CD. I'll double click on it and you can see it actually gives me all the AIFF files. Okay, so if I wanted to bring in something from that, all I would do is drag it the exact same way. Okay, so I'll just drag one, drop it. I'll put it on my desktop temporarily. And now let me bring my folder back in. That's the Montage folder on my secondary hard drive within a folder called IMD250 Premiere. And I'll just drag and drop this AIFF file. Now, if you have trouble with those files getting off a CD, you could open them in iTunes and convert them to an MP3 or another file format, but it should work if you just bring them off the CD because those are uncompressed and that file format should work pretty well. So I've got that now on my secondary hard drive. Remember, you wouldn't want to move those around because your media would become offline if you do that. So now I'd go back here and I've got a nice little bin for my music. Right click and I'll import. Okay, and then there's the other one. You can see these audio files are about in the 40 megabyte range. So I'll import, and there's that one, and then I'll tilde to get back, and I've got 2 songs in there I can use. So that's getting music from a CD. Pretty simple. As long as you have a CD drive hooked up to your computer. A lot of new computers don't have them anymore. Okay, so let's look at GarageBand really quickly here. So GarageBand is a program that comes free with new Macs, and it allows you to hook up instruments or microphones or create your own loops or do podcasting, all kinds of stuff. So what I use it for is I play piano, so I will hook up my piano to it. And I also play trumpet, so I'll hook up trumpet microphones with like a MIDI connection to a USB connection. So hook instruments to it, and then I also use it for loops and sound effects for videos that I create. So let's do a loop really quickly here. So I'll double click on loops, and let me just create one here, a new one, open up. And I'm not going to try to teach you this program. It is a program that's designed to be pretty simple to use. That is for beginners. You don't have to be an expert to use it, but it's very professional. A lot of musicians record with a program like this because it's really high quality. So just because it's free doesn't mean that you can't do really professional recordings with it. So it's good to check out. What I'll do here is let me just grab Ensemble, which are their longer ones. Okay, so here's a couple. You can see these are a couple minutes long. So let me just grab one of these. Now you're probably not going to hear any of this stuff because I don't really have my speakers turned on, but I'll just show you how it works. So let me drag one on here. You can see they all look very similar, all these programs. They all have timelines. Okay, so I'm going to drag this in here, and then I'm going to export it. Okay, so here it is, and if I played it, you can see it actually gives me the waveform again for that. And then I could go to share, and I can do export song to disk. Okay, and I'll say export your song to disk in CD quality. So that is export, and you probably recognize the file type. AIF is the file type, same type of as the other 2 that we brought in. And then you would save that in the same location and import it the same way. I'm not going to do that because you've just seen it done twice. So that's it. Now what I use this program for probably more than these pre-built songs, I use this program for sound effects. So it does have a lot of cool sound effects on it that you can use to fill in your videos. Alright, so let's go back to Premiere now. So if you've been following along, you should have all the pieces necessary to assemble your own 1-minute scenery montage with some background music of your choice. And that's what I've done with mine. I've got all these different shots here that kind of give me a good overview of my car. I got 2 different songs in there to choose from, and I know about transitions, or you should know about transitions now if you want to use them. So you've got a couple different choices when you do start to assemble. If you have quick music with a lot of beats, you could cut on the beat and use minimal transitions. If you have a slower music, like the Somewhere Over the Rainbow that I'm going to use, you might use more of the transitions. I'm going to use more cross dissolves instead of a lot of quick cuts to different shots. It'll be more of like a slower moving piece that just showcases the car with slower music. So it's up to you really what you want to do. What I'll do is assemble that, and I'll give you the link to it in Blackboard so you can see the example. You don't need to see me do that, because all I'm going to do is just go through each of these clips one by one, set some in and out points, make sure I have the required amount, which I believe is 12 for the project, and choose an appropriate part of my music, my background music, which, the music you can cut just like anything else. You can open up the music, set an in point and out point that you want to be in your video, and then drop it in there. Or you can cut it in the timeline if you want. You can use the razor blade tool. You can just use your mouse and bring it in, whatever you want to do. So the point is, you want to get a section of your music that you want, and you want to assemble your shots that flow with that music. So let me talk just a little more about this music that you are using in your project. If you're using GarageBand or another program to create your own music, that is royalty free. So anything in GarageBand here, any of these loops that you put in there, if you create your own music, obviously if you hook up a keyboard or a microphone, that's all royalty free, meaning you don't have any copyright worries. So that's why if you are going to create something for a client or for yourself, your portfolio, or any business, you would use a program like this, or you could buy royalty free music. There are plenty of places where you can buy it as well. It's kind of expensive. But those are your options if you are concerned about copyright, if you're going to do business or something. So don't worry about it if it's from GarageBand. Now, with the music that we brought in, it's obviously copyrighted from a CD, also purchased in iTunes. It's fine for educational use, practicing. We're not trying to make money off of it. We're just using it to practice so that we can figure out how to assemble some video. Now, if you upload it to YouTube, you can try that, but there are 3 things that could happen. One, nothing. Your music is out of copyright, or they don't track it, so you're fine. 2, this is usually what happens in my experience. They will identify this piece of music in your video, and they will put a little credit. They'll say this video contains this song, and you can click here to purchase it, because they've identified it as another way that they might sell the music. So it just ends up with a little, kind of like a little advertisement underneath your video, or they might mute the audio entirely. So it doesn't matter really if that happens, but you want to go ahead and try it. Make sure you set your video to unlisted again, and then send it to me. If it does get muted, what we will do is use a different way to turn it in. We'll use Dropbox or something similar. So what I'll do is I'll put another tutorial up that talks about exporting. So if we go to File, Export, Media, I will show you some different options here to downsize your movie. Okay, so different options to downsize it so it's not as big, and then I'll show you some different ways that you can get the file to me. So that's what we'll do. So still the first thing to try would be YouTube, and then just set it to unlisted again the exact same way and turn it in. But if it does become a problem, then we'll look at other ways that you can get the file to me. So that's pretty much it. So what I'll do from this point is I'll go ahead and assemble my example montage. I'll put the link up for you, and you can kind of see what one of them would look like that would meet the requirements, and then you can put your own together.